G'day folks, we're back out in the shop here. It's early morning, it's still kind of cold. Today we're going to work out our shifter situation. You can see I got the driver's seat out, so it's a little easier to work in here, and still haven't put the front clip on, so none of the lights are hooked up. And we got to clean up some of these wires. We were in here mucking around there the other day, and there's all kinds of old wires that are still in place. I don't even know what some of these do, to be honest with you. That one's chewed all up. Anyway, we'll leave the wiring for now, but I'm going to deal with it while the seat's out. My main focus today is to get a gear shifter in this thing. Okay, so originally I purchased this here to replace the handmade cover that was there for the transmission, for the shifters. This one was set up for obviously the T5 5-speed standard, and that's for the 4-wheel drive. Unfortunately, moving this transfer case back, this isn't going to work for me anymore. I thought about making my own shifter, but again, this is for my daughter, so I wanted a little more obvious. For me, I can just count the clicks. I know which gear I'm in. It's not a big deal. She needs an indicator. She's new to driving. For a shifter, we looked at a few cheapies, and she picked out the shifter, so we're going with a Sidewinder. So the unique thing about the Sidewinders is the gated shift pattern. And I mean, there are others out there like it, but this is the one she liked. So it does this kind of weird back and forth thing. I get it, I guess, but so again, we're going with the Turbo 700, so it's a 4-speed. And it's got obviously lockout, so you can't go 4 to reverse without first going to neutral. It's kind of a safety thing. Obviously, you don't want to be able to go from reverse right into 4 unless you're doing burnouts and blowing the transmission that I put together for. So that's the shifter we're going with. The one thing that I'm not a fan of, that they don't have a neutral safety switch or a backup light modded in here, where you could just wire it in like the way I did on the rat rod with the B&M shifter. It's got micro switches in there for both neutral safety and reverse lights. So I mean, I get it. This is more of a racing thing, so I get why they wouldn't maybe have that in there. So we're not going to have a neutral safety switch. This vehicle was never fitted with one anyways, because standards didn't have it in 1982. They didn't have a neutral safety. You push the clutch. But with this type of shifter, it's relatively obvious that you're going to be okay if you're in park or neutral, right? If you want to start it in reverse and be a bonehead, well, then maybe you shouldn't be behind the wheel of a car. Just saying. One of the drawbacks is the large space needed to go from here to back here. It's a lot of wiggle room. So I can't just extend this and make it longer, because now I'm moving the shifter this far to go through the range of gears, and there's just not, that would be ridiculous in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift the shifter up and build a little console here. I'm thinking from that new plate to there works pretty darn good. So I'm going to see what I got for steel and maybe make myself a big triangle thing. And I can attach it or weld it right to this steel plate, which is I think about a 1/8 steel. And then I can just screw this down, and that screws the whole mess in. Alright, there's going to be our center console more or less. I don't have the bend quite right, but we're going to go ahead and tack that onto there. Something like that. Let's weld that in. Okay, well, I got that plate welded in. Riveted at the top to the dashboard, so if you needed to, you could get the dashboard out without too much work. And honestly, this plate's not going to be that hard to get out either. I'm just going to put some self-tapping screws in. I might even do rivets. We'll see. Anyway, I got more work to do here. Now we got to mock that shifter up. All right, now I got to put the hole in for the cable, so this ought to be fun. see if that's big enough for the what? Could be bigger still. Yeah. Just a hair. Oh, it went. That'll do. Well, we're trying to get the cable put in here. Got the bracket put on, and we're in park, so all the way forward from the bottom is park. This is just sitting in there. So I know where I'm going here. I need to do these 2 bolts and screw that bracket on right there. And that is what holds on to this end of the cable. It's one of these little jobbies. Kind of like that. You're going to juggle all of that. A lot of little pieces to hold while you're doing this. The other thing is, of course, I got my shifter in park, so I know where it's at. Otherwise, I could screw up my adjustments here. I don't want to do that. Yeah. Of course, I dropped the nut and it rolled about 25 feet to the back of the shop. Almost out into the gravel. Having to fight with this under here. I want to strap the cable in so it's away from anything up here, but not binding. I'm going to pull those out. So I'm just going to pull these 2 pan bolts here. No worries about losing training fluid because, well, I ain't got any in there yet. Finicky. There we go. Whew. That didn't need to be as hard as it was. I'll tell you what, I do like simple shift setups, and this is about as simple as it gets. I mean, look at that. So here's your adjustment right there. You just back this out until you get where you need it to be. Put a nut and a lock washer on the back. There we go. Okay, well, there's the bottom end of this shifter setup. The cable I just got sitting out here loose for now. I'm going to figure out exactly how I want to run that because I still got to put an exhaust pipe through. There's lots of room for it, but I just don't want it leaning on the exhaust. So we may have to put a strap or a tie in there somewhere. But for now, the bottom of this is done. Let's go look up top. All right, again, that's just sitting there. I didn't want to bolt it in until I was sure exactly of the placement, and I'm about sure now. So let's see. And that is definitely shifting. I can see it through the hole here. Now, you're never going to use low very often. I don't see my daughter going rock crawling, but you never know. Anyways, what's left to do is to attach this console to this piece of steel. And I don't know if I'm going to put sides in. I left it so it's off center here like it's supposed to be, basically center off on where the T5 shifter came through. I still got my full access to my hole here for the 4-wheel drive shift handle, which I have to modify because the transfer case is back 4 inches. So I'm going to have to bend that handle and bring it back up through the hole. So the handle for that will end up here where it's supposed to be, more or less. Anyway, let's get to attaching that. I think I'm just going to rivet it in for now. Just because I don't know if I'm putting sides on this. I think I'm going to put sides on, but for now I just want the shifter in and working. So. Okay, well, we got 4 out of 6 rivets. I didn't put any in the middle here. I sure can if I need to. And my big thing was this going to be stiff enough? I would say that's not going anywhere, and I only got 1 screw in the base right now, so that's pretty darn good. So one of the concerns people have with these kinds of shifters is how long it takes to shift, but there, it's in drive. It's not that hard. There's reverse. Drive. apart. So it really is not that much longer, but the safety of not accidentally putting it in the wrong gear kind of pays for itself. I mean, there, I'm driving. I just wanted to see how solid this was, and I don't think I need to put sides on that. That's pretty darn stiff, just like it is. We'll see how it is longevity wise. I mean, it's just a shifter, right? So, but that was a big one, because now I can finish doing the back drive shaft, and then this thing can move sort of on its own and get the heck out of my way if I need to bring something else in here without having to push it back and forth.
I am.
Could have done it myself. It's so goddamn big and awkward. Wonder why these Jeeps weigh nothing, right? Down and in. Just lean it up against the firewall for now. Pete's got some bolts to put in. Ooh, it's looking like a Jupe again! No, you don't. Well, there it is. That's what I have to cut off. So 3.5 inches is what I'm cutting off here. What I did was I collapsed this all the way, and then took a measurement, extended it all the way, took a measurement, realized that I got 3.5 inches of play here, put it in the middle. Then I measured my center to center. So basically the center line of the yoke here. For the center line of this yoke, 18 3/4, realized how much I need to take off, marked it, cut it. Looks about as straight as it needs to be. I'm gonna clean that up, then I gotta still remove all this. I gotta get rid of that old weld and get down to the yoke proper so that I can slide it in here, true it up, and then weld it. Taking that much steel off shouldn't affect the balances at all, because there's no balance back here. There's only one on the front half, and that's not gonna mess up my balance too badly, hopefully. Alright, so we got the weld ground off. Now I just gotta cut down till I get the old steel off. Okay, now you can see the inner yoke, the hard sleeve part. So all we need to do is peel that outer piece away to where the weld is. We can go around and do a little dig there just to make it easier. So again, all I'm doing there with the chisel is just knocking it away. You can see it's not welded here. It's only welded around the outer seam, and we're going to break that weld, and then we'll have it. Okay, all promised. There's the yoke separated from that old pipe. Just got to break little pieces off till you get it. Nothing to it. Right there, there's a seam that you got to get rid of. Right at about 19. By the time I knock it in 3/4 of an inch, well, maybe half an inch, that should put us right in the ballpark. It doesn't have to be perfect. But we got to clock these. They have to be level. Right? Because if it's like that, it's going to shake like crazy. I did put a mark before I cut it that lines up here. Now, this is where if I had a lathe, I could chalk it up in the lathe and make sure everything's straight, but I don't. Time to do some welding. Let's see if I get a ground throw this rust. There, got spot welds on each side, and then go mock it up. All right, just tried it in there, got it all done, welded it up. Nothing to that. A lot of stops and starts, but there it is, welded up. Newly welded and shortened up Scooby Dooby here. Uh-oh, not gonna fit. Whatever will I do? Nice try. Ow. Oh, that was just rude. Again, not a rock crawler. Doesn't need anything super fancy here. Needs to connect the transfer case to the rear diff. I've seen lifted ones with worse angles. This one ain't so bad. It's funny when you look at these, just little 8mm bolts, and they hold that drive shaft in place under all that torque. All right, drive shaft is on. Oh, somebody's racing out on the highway. I don't know if you can hear that. They like to race up there. Anyway, there's the old rad on the ground. I mean, you see why it's not going to work. The inlet and outlet are on opposite sides to what a Chevy small block needs. So there's the aluminum one that comes with the kit. Nice big thick 4-core sucker. So that ought to keep this small block cooled. Well, this stock 305 is not a problem. They don't ever overheat. They're kind of a generic, so there's no holes drilled, but they do have the flange ready to go. I've already test fitted it. It slides in perfect, fits perfect. Really close to the fan. Made me nervous there. All right, well, I had to raise it up. The radiator cap was hitting over here, and I couldn't push it any farther left because there was no room for bolts. So, let's see how close we got with this. But we're close. We're getting there. I'm going to try the hood. I want to see how if the hood will close like that or not. Doesn't do me much good to put a radiator in if the hood won't close. Oh yeah, that'll work. That'll do it. Now, I don't know what they were thinking with these transmission cooling lines, but good Lord. I think they give me enough. Well, where did they think you were going to put all this? I guess it's better they gave me too much than not enough, but I don't know what I'm doing with all the slack here. I got some brand new hoses for a Chevy small block, hoping that this is going to work, and well, there's only one way to find out, right? I'm going to have to modify these to get them to fit. Well, might not be using those after all. Well, factory hoses didn't fit, but where there's a will, there's a way. The old cheap flexi pipe off Amazon done the job. Works. Well, she'll spin them. That's a 2-wheel peel because it's posi. Nice!